Just promise me we'll never do that again. Oh, I certainly fucking hope so. Oh, God. Why? 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 Just fucking why? Back in Action is a Netflix original from writer-director Seth Gordon, who did The Lost City, a really terrific action comedy with some spy elements and Channing Tatum and Sandra Bullock having tremendous chemistry. I liked it a lot. It exceeded my expectations, even though I really had no expectations going into it. I certainly didn't have any expectations heading into Back in Action that sees the return to form, acting form that is, for Cameron Diaz, who left the acting life behind. She's become a mother, she started a wine company, and apparently Netflix said, please, 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 nobody else will answer our calls. Please, Cameron, you were tremendous. You were hot as hell in The Mask. You've been in great films. You've been in bad films. You haven't been in for a while. How much will it take to bring you out of retirement? Invest in my wine company. I mean, I don't actually know. I'm not going to complain. Cameron Diaz, she's bright. She's still oh so attractive, like only she can look. And certainly deserved a better return to form than this. So Jamie Foxx is also in this. And this, unfortunately, was a film where he suffered that medical setback. The one where it was rumor and innuendo and everybody was wondering why Jamie Foxx's condition was so goddamn secret. As if it's any of our goddamn business what he goes through. Apparently it was some kind of brain bleed, and there were questions of if he would be able to come back. But he's made a full recovery that delayed filming, and we have this film basically to thank for Jamie Foxx and Cameron Diaz pairing up as two spies that leave their spy life behind. They have two kids, but then they're called back into action when their lives are exposed. And super secret, super duper, double twisty spy stuff. Oh yes, and Glenn Close is in it, because apparently being in The Deliverance wasn't bad enough. I would really, really like to know what the pitch for this was. Apparently, Seth Gordon couldn't be the only person writing this. Brendan O'Brien, who did Neighbors and Neighbors 2, yeah, they did a sequel to Neighbors. I don't know why, but nevertheless. If you cannot guess how I felt about this movie, then you really, really aren't paying attention at all. Or you think, oh, maybe he'll be nice to it. No, I hated Back in Action. I'll tell you why I hated Back in Action. Because even though at the end of the day, this movie isn't offensive, it offends me that films like this get so much money thrown behind them, and yet you have struggling artists with independent projects that basically have to take out Kickstarters and take out any kind of funding to get stuff done. You have incredible shit like Strange Darling, and even some other action. You have stuff like Red Rooms. You have various movies that are generally horror based, but even like stuff like Rebel Ridge that was tremendous, got put on Netflix, actually looked pretty goddamn good and was really good. And then you get this. This is like the dark side of Netflix. It's like if AI just taken over the Netflix executives' heads. Because it is every spy action comedy cliche. It's like if Spy Kids was done by idiots, except without the thumb soldiers. Lots of licensed music. No, really. I mean, I think there were like 3 licensed songs within the first 11 minutes of this movie. I think there were like 8 or 9 in total. So I do want to say that Kyle Chandler continues to make questionable decisions. Apparently, being an early edition and being able to see the future hasn't caused him to actually be able to see into the future and realize projects like this are a bad idea. Again, the movie isn't offensive, but it is really, really goddamn cliche and bland and a basic bitch of a concept. And really, honest to God, terrible. It's like The Union. I think that was the one with Halle Berry and Mark Wahlberg. Speaking of which, Mark Wahlberg comes out with Flight Risk, like really, really soon. Maybe just a couple days before this gets posted. Nevertheless, so this basically is absolutely goddamn terrible. I do not understand what action they were getting back into. I would have understood what they were going for if these characters were worth rooting for or against. Or if there were any actual characters in this. They just bop around from set piece to set piece. There's nothing wrong with having a little bit of fun. If you earn that fun, nobody has any chemistry. They tease a sequel. They do a bunch of stuff with poor characters. I do want to shout out Jude Mack, though, who, my goodness, put put her in more projects. Because she did well. I'd like to see what else she can do. Fola Evans Akambol, who actually is, I think, really tried in this. She's been in some British shows. And yes, this takes place in the U.S. and then in Britain. And I don't understand why. I'm not even knocking Jamie Foxx for taking the money, and I'm glad he recovered. I'm not even knocking Cameron Diaz for it. I think Seth Gordon had his family held hostage or something, because nobody would actually make a movie like this on purpose. Unless Netflix basically said, make it in the blandest way possible. This is ugly, boring, terrible CGI, terrible green screen effects, and that's all within the first 15 minutes. We go 14 minutes before we get to the title reveal, and this movie is only an hour and 42 minutes long. I just don't understand what the hell they were going for. I'm into the spoilers. It's on Netflix if you want to check it out, and torture yourself forever. 3, 2, 1, spoilers. So, yeah, let's just talk about the fact that basically you have Kyle Chandler, who is Chuck. He is a guy that is leading this expedition, this, way to get a key, the key, and it's some kind of device. Well, it turns out that during this mission to get the key, Emily, Cameron Diaz, and Matt, Jamie Foxx, are sleeping together. Emily finds out she's pregnant. She ends up revealing this to Jamie Foxx when they basically get on a plane after giving the key to a man named Baron, but it's actually not the key. They bring the key on the plane, but it turns out the plane actually is taken over by agents, so that's Balthazar Gore. Only wrestling fans will get that. And yeah, that plane ends up crashing. The key goes missing, and everybody ends up dying. Cameron Diaz mentions that her strong inner thighs saved Jamie Foxx. Weird flex, as the kids say, but all right. They decide to leave the spy stuff behind. They raise 2 kids. 15 years later, they have a daughter, Alice, McKenna Roberts, who just is adventurous, wanting to go out to clubs despite the fact she's 14 years old. Don't let your kids do that. And Leo, Ryland Jackson, is a bit of a nerd. And, nothing wrong with that. He's very tech savvy. But after rescuing Alice from this particular club, with this one guy being really creepy. She's 14. Well, she looks old enough to me. Man, why would you? I mean, I know why they have a character say that. They have to trigger something, but you cannot tell me that was. Ugh. I would have felt dirty saying. I felt dirty saying that, reciting that line. No. So yeah, they beat people up in the goddamn club. And then that goes viral, and it turns out that, oh my god, they are now found out, and the people that want the key are coming after them. So before I talk about the rest of the plot, let's talk about the goddamn songs that they have. They had Lauryn Hill's That Thing playing in the 15-year-ago flashback. They had, L.O.V. Extraordinary, the Nat King Cole song, basically. And then they had Ain't Love a Kick in the Head by Dean Martin. I'd like to kick some people in the head for this goddamn fiasco. So, the slow-mo, the bad CGI, it's all terrible. Help, I hate this is what I wrote down. Seth Gordon needs to, quite frankly, maybe take a step back and assess his career, if this is what he's being offered. Emily wants to feel alive again. They've been lying terribly to their kids. There's bad boomer, Gen X humor with the young people. I don't understand why any of this is supposed to be funny. And Matt had the key the whole time, so he's been lying about that. Lying for 15 years. He hid it at Emily's mom's house in England. How he managed to do this, I don't know. It's fine. And the mother, by the way, is Glenn Close. So, yeah, now they take the kids away because they are found out. And they... my word. As they're trying to get their kids, they, they use a Mentos and Diet Coke bomb thing The neighborhood they're crashing through just felt like a set. It just felt like they built houses just to crash through. Like, it didn't feel, or I don't expect realism, but I expect it to feel like, okay, these are locations, but some of these people can be put in danger, but it's funny. No, this just feels like a bunch of houses were built with Netflix money, and they're like, yeah, just crash through it. We don't care. We're Netflix. We offered WWE $5 billion over 10 years. Well, now clause after 5 years, which is still $2.5 billion over 5 years, which is still $500 million a year. I'm very certain this probably didn't cost any more than about $60 million. If it cost any more than that, my God. So, Baron notices they're back in England. Hey, let's target them and everything. Let's find them. By the way, if you ever wanted to see Cameron Diaz and Jamie Foxx badly sing Push It, this is the movie for you, you weirdos. And then Etta James at last is playing while Jamie Foxx uses a gas nozzle, petrol as they say over there across the pond, which would have actually torched the tanks. That actually would have worked with physics. There's no way, by the way, that entire gas station wouldn't have gone up. These stunts are dreadful. Glenn Close is the grandmother. Remember when Glenn Close used to be in good movies? Apparently she lives on the Bridgerton set. I need to get back into watching Bridgerton. It has to be better than this. With a young man named Nigel did his antics and his training in MI6, which is their version of the CIA, I believe, is played for laughs, but he's not very good. Is this supposed to be funny? Jenny was a special agent. Oh, yes, and by the way, they also lied to their kids about the grandmother being alive. They said she's dead. No, she's actually very much alive. It all goes back to parenting skills. Your mother doesn't hate you. I don't hate your mother, and your mother doesn't hate me, but it's just we have our ways of doing things. Oh, yes, and when they were found out at their house, Chuck got shot, except Chuck was actually in on it this whole time. Dun, dun, dun. I do want to shout, by the way, Doshi's crazy. The one that was in the, I think it was the Joyride in the Polite Society trailer. Don't be calling me crazy or whatever the hell the lyrics are. That song, if you remember those trailers, if you're weird like me and you've seen a lot of trailers and you commit odd shit to memory. But yeah, Chuck was in on the whole thing because he stuck his neck out for them to get away. But because they didn't have the key, he lost his job. He even lost his dog. I don't feel bad for the dog because the dog's better off being in a better home than with this bland piece of white meat. And then Chuck decides, okay, you don't want to give me this stuff? Fine, I'll take your kids. Oh, yes, and Glenn Close decides to use her old lady spy skills to kill like 5 soldiers. While Nigel doesn't do much of anything because apparently he's an idiot. He did teach Leo how to throw a punch when he said, dodge. So this key can turn shit off and on. Like, it can shut down a dam and cause water to flood London, I assume. Because why not? Matt and Emily keep, they just keep going after their kids. They beat up their enemies with light tubes. It's like bad deathmatch wrestling, i.e. all deathmatch wrestling. And Papa's Got a Brand New Bag is playing. Again, there are elements to this movie that might work if they had even a little bit of soul to them. So they end up basically being held at gunpoint by Baron, but Baron's like, well, you thought I was a double agent. I'm not. Here, let's go get your kids. And then everybody does beating up stuff. Again, I do have to say my word, Jude. Mac looks absolutely amazing. The short hair is just really, I don't know. I mean, I thought she was at least neat. So if there's one thing that got over with me in this movie, it was her. So Nigel ends up kind of pulling a the diehard limo driver. I forgot the guy's name. The guy's name that was a limo driver in Die Hard when he crashed into the villain's van in the hotel or the Nakatomi Plaza the underground parking garage as opposed to the overground parking garage. So Nigel does that. He's trying to break in or hack into the laptop, but Daphne, Jude Mack, is totally knocked out. So he finally figures it out, and he changes it from 1 to 0. Position 1 lowers the dam. Position 0 raises it. Meanwhile, Chuck is on a boat, the banana boat. The kids end up in the water because they somehow managed to escape these elite fighters. And Emily and Matt team up. They beat the shit out of Chuck. He ends up crashing into into the raised dam, and that's it. And then everything's fine. And they end up going back. The daughter plays soccer. She wins, and then Glenn Close is there with Nigel. Talk about a big age difference, but whatever. It's fine. But then Baron shows up in the back of their van and says, "Hey, by the way, I need you to recruit somebody else because we didn't find Chuck." "No, you don't need to recruit your mother. It's your father." You want to do a sequel? You want to see? Eat shit, Netflix. Eat fucking shit. You goddamn pieces of... God. Getting fucking syphilis would be less painful than watching anything Netflix does these days. And the sad thing is they did Waltzing Gromit, Vengeance Most Foul. They can do good stuff. I just mentioned Rebel Ridge. And they churn out bullshit like this that fools like me will review because we need content. And I just am bound determined to not let a movie beat me. Even though this thing beat me around so goddamn much, I felt like a broken drum or a sore dick. I just couldn't be beaten anymore. Now with that image in mind, it gets an F. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. Or low your thoughts in the comments. Or if you are a thought, please let me know what your phone number is. Like, share, subscribe, Twitter, Letterboxd, Blue Sky handles in the description. I'm John Ritland. I'll see you soon.